Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I want you to hear me and hear me loud and clear. I don't care where you've been. I don't care what you've been through. I don't care how many times you've fallen flat on your face. You are going to win. And I don't mean someday. I don't mean when the stars align. I mean right now, today, in this moment. You make the decision, I'm going to win. See, most people have trained themselves to lose. They've trained themselves to make excuses. They've trained themselves to hesitate when they should attack. They say things like, I'll start tomorrow, or I'm not ready, or it's too hard. That mindset, that's why they're stuck. That's why they're watching from the sidelines while someone else is dominating the game. But you're different here. And if you're listening to me right now, it's because deep down you know you were built for more. It's a fire in you that refuses to die, a hunger that refuses to be ignored, a vision of your future that refuses to be compromised. But listen, knowing you can win isn't enough. Wanting to win isn't enough. You need to commit, you need to burn the boats, you need to shut out every excuse, every doubt, every fear, and say with absolute certainty, I'm going to win. Say it right now, out loud. I'm going to win, not I hope, not I'll try, not maybe if things go my way. No. I'm going to win. Now let me be real with you. Winning isn't easy. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But most people quit the second it gets hard. Most people tap out when life smacks them in the face. Not you, because you're not made of glass. You're made of iron. You're made of grit. You're made of unshakable, unstoppable, undeniable power. So when life knocks you down, you get up faster. When the world tells you no, you say, watch me. When doubt creeps in, you drown it out with action. You have everything inside you right now to win at life, win at business, win at relationships, win at your goals. Not next year, not when it's convenient, now. Because winning isn't something you do once, it's who you are. So what's it going to be? Are you going to stay the same, or are you going to rise, fight, and claim what's yours? Decide, commit, own it. And when they ask you how you did it, how you transformed, how you made it happen, you look them in the eye and say with conviction, I decided to win. Now go. Go be unstoppable. Because you're not just going to win, you're already winning. Winning doesn't happen by accident. It's not something you stumble into, and it's certainly not something that falls into your lap. Winning is a decision, a choice that must be made with absolute certainty. The reason most people never achieve what they truly desire isn't because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It's because they never fully commit. They hesitate. They second guess. They leave the back door open in case things don't work out. That hesitation, that's the enemy of success. When you decide with certainty, you eliminate hesitation. You remove doubt from the equation. You create a mental and emotional state where failure is not an option, where obstacles are irrelevant, and where the only possible outcome is victory. The problem is most people don't decide with that level of certainty. They try something. They hope things will work out. But hope is not a strategy. Hoping means you're leaving the outcome up to chance. Deciding means you take ownership of your results, no matter what. Think about the moments in your life where you were truly all in, the times when you had no plan B, the moments when you burned the boats and made success the only option. What happened? You made it work. You pushed past barriers. You found solutions where others saw dead ends. You tapped into a level of energy, focus, and resourcefulness that you didn't even know you had. That's the power of a real decision. It activates something inside you that turns thoughts into action and action into results. The problem is most people live in limbo. They never fully commit to a path. They dip their toes in the water but never jump in. They tell themselves they're thinking about it, but thinking isn't deciding. You can think about working out, but until you actually show up at the gym, you haven't committed. You can think about starting a business, but until you take real action, it's just an idea. Decisions are black and white. You're either in or you're out. And if you're not all in, You're out. Certainty is what separates the people who achieve massive success from those who stay stuck. The greatest athletes, the most successful entrepreneurs, the highest achievers in any field, all of them share one thing, a level of commitment so deep that failure is simply not an option. They don't entertain doubts. They don't waste energy wondering if they made the right choice. They decide, they commit, and they execute. Look at the most successful people in the world. Do you think they sit around questioning themselves? Do you think they constantly second guess whether they're on the right path? No. They trust their decision, they back it up with action, and they keep moving forward. They don't let temporary setbacks shake their belief. They don't let fear dictate their choices. They operate from a place of absolute conviction. That level of certainty isn't something you're born with. It's something you cultivate. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. But it starts with one simple step, making a real decision, not a weak, half-hearted, I'll try decision. A no matter what, I'm all in, there's no turning back decision. This kind of decision changes everything. It changes the way you think, the way you act, and the way you respond to challenges. When you decide with certainty, you start to move differently. You walk with confidence. You operate with a sense of purpose. You take actions that others are too afraid to take because you're not wondering if it's going to work. You know it's going to work. And that knowing changes the way the world responds to you. People can sense it. They can feel when someone is certain about their path. It creates a magnetic energy that draws people in, that makes them want to follow, support, and believe in what you're doing. When you're uncertain, when you hesitate, when you constantly change direction, people feel that too. And that uncertainty repels success. It pushes away opportunity. This is why so many people struggle to gain momentum in their lives. They keep changing their minds. They start something, hit a rough patch, and then jump to something else. They chase the next easy thing instead of sticking to one path and making it work. Success doesn't come from jumping from idea to idea. It comes from committing fully, staying the course, and refusing to give up. You have to train yourself to make decisions fast and with conviction. The longer you hesitate, the more doubt creeps in. The more you overthink, the more your brain finds reasons why it won't work. But when you decide quickly and move forward with certainty, you bypass all that nonsense. You take control of your mind instead of letting your mind control you. Certainty doesn't mean you'll never make mistakes, doesn't mean you'll never have setbacks. But it does mean that when challenges come, you won't fold. You won't break under pressure. You won't let fear dictate your next move. You'll stand your ground, adjust if necessary, and keep pushing forward. Because the moment you decide with absolute certainty that you're going to win, you become unstoppable. Excuses are the chains that keep people locked in mediocrity. They are the comforting lies we tell ourselves to justify why we're not where we want to be. They creep into our minds in moments of weakness, convincing us that we are victims of our circumstances, that external factors are responsible for our failures, that we don't have the time, the resources, the connections, or the luck to succeed. But the truth is, excuses are nothing more than a story we choose to believe, a story that keeps us stagnant, a story that robs us of our potential. People who succeed at the highest levels operate under one fundamental belief. They take absolute ownership of their lives. They don't blame the economy. They don't blame their past. They don't blame other people. And they certainly don't blame bad luck. They understand that everything in their life, good or bad, is ultimately their responsibility. That mindset is what separates the winners from the quitters. The winners say, it's on me, I create my results. The quitters say, it's not my fault, I had no choice. But the moment you allow yourself to make excuses, you hand over your power. You give control of your life to circumstances instead of claiming ownership over your future. Excuses come in many forms. Some are obvious, like I don't have enough time or I don't have enough money. But the most dangerous excuses are the subtle ones, the ones that disguise themselves as reasonable justifications. I'll start when I'm ready. I need more experience first. I just want to make sure everything is perfect before I begin. These sound like logical statements, but in reality, they are just well-dressed excuses. The truth is, you will never feel completely ready. There will always be a reason to wait, to delay, to postpone taking action. The people who succeed understand this. They don't wait until everything is perfect. They start where they are with what they have, and they figure the rest out along the way. One of the most common excuses people use is that they don't have enough time. I would get in shape, but I'm too busy. The reality is, time is not the issue, priorities are. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day, yet some people manage to build empires while others can't even get through their to-do list. Why? Because successful people don't waste time making excuses, they use their time making progress. They don't scroll mindlessly on their phones for hours. They don't binge watch TV every night. They don't engage in meaningless distractions. They are ruthless with their time because they understand that time is the most valuable asset they have. The same goes for money. People say, I don't have the money to start, but in reality, money isn't the reason they're stuck. Resourcefulness is. Some of the wealthiest, most successful entrepreneurs started with nothing. They didn't let a lack of funds stop them. They found ways to make things happen. They traded services, they borrowed, they worked multiple jobs, they did whatever it took to get started. The difference between winners and losers isn't money, it's mindset. The winners find solutions, the losers find excuses. Fear is another excuse disguised as logic. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I'm not good enough? These thoughts are excuses in disguise designed to keep you in your comfort zone. The brain is wired for survival, not success. It will always try to keep you safe, and that means avoiding risks, avoiding rejection, avoiding anything that feels uncomfortable. But growth only happens outside the comfort zone. The people who achieve greatness feel fear just like everyone else. The difference is they act despite the fear. They refuse to let fear become an excuse. Perfectionism is one of the deadliest excuses because it feels so rational. I just want to make sure it's perfect before I put it out there. I need to learn more before I start. But perfectionism is just fear in disguise. It's the fear of being judged, the fear of making mistakes, the fear of not being good enough. But the truth is, nothing will ever be perfect. If you wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, you will be waiting for the rest of your life. The people who win in life understand that progress beats perfection. They launch, they iterate, they improve as they go. Another deadly excuse is the belief that it's too late. Too late for what? There are people who started businesses in their 60s and became millionaires. There are people who began working out in their 50s and got into the best shape of their lives. The only thing that makes it too late is the belief that it is. Time will pass anyway. A year from now, you could be further ahead, or you could be in the same place making the same excuses. The choice is yours. Then there's the excuse of blaming circumstances. I wasn't born into the right family. I didn't have the right opportunities. I don't have the connections. The truth is, plenty of successful people started with nothing. No money, no support, no resources. They didn't use their past as a crutch. They used it as fuel. They saw obstacles as challenges to overcome, not reasons to quit. Life will never hand you the perfect conditions. The people who make it are the ones who make the most of what they have and refuse to use their circumstances as an excuse. One of the most powerful realizations you can have is that every excuse you've ever made is just a story. A story you've been telling yourself, a story that keeps you playing small, a story that protects your ego from discomfort. But the moment you recognize that, you gain the power to change it. You can rewrite the story. You can decide right now that excuses no longer have a place in your life. If you want to achieve something great, you have to eliminate excuses completely. You have to remove them from your vocabulary, from your mindset, from your belief system. Because every time you make an excuse, you reinforce the habit of failure. Every time you justify why you can't do something, you are training your mind to accept mediocrity. But when you refuse to entertain excuses, when you take ownership of everything in your life, you become unstoppable. Taking relentless action is the ultimate separator between those who succeed and those who don't. It's the force that turns dreams into reality, ideas into results, and vision into achievement. Most people live in their heads, constantly thinking about what they want, imagining the life they could have, but never doing what it takes to bring it into existence. They hesitate, procrastinate, and allow fear to dictate their choices. But the people who win, who truly dominate in life, are the ones who take massive, consistent, and relentless action. They don't wait until they feel ready. They don't overthink every step. They move, they execute, and they adjust along the way. Action is the antidote to fear. Fear thrives in inaction. The longer you wait, the stronger fear grows. The more you hesitate, the more your mind fills with doubt. But the moment you take action, fear loses its power. Your brain shifts from worrying about what if to focusing on what's next. The problem is that most people are waiting for the perfect moment. They think they need more information, more confidence, more experience before they start. But the truth is, confidence doesn't come before action. It comes because of action. You don't feel ready and then act. You act, and through action, you become ready. Massive action is the ultimate strategy for success. You can have the best plan in the world, but if you don't execute it aggressively and consistently, it's worthless. Ideas are everywhere, but execution is rare. There are thousands of people who have had the same idea as every billionaire entrepreneur, but the difference is the successful ones took action while everyone else talked about it. They didn't just dip their toes in the water, they jumped in with full force, knowing that even if they failed, they would learn and adjust. Action creates momentum. Most people fail to start because they think they need motivation first. But motivation is a byproduct of action. The first step is always the hardest. Once you take it, the second step is easier. Then the third. Before you know it, you've built momentum, and momentum is one of the most powerful forces in the world. A person in motion tends to stay in motion. And the more consistent you are with taking action, the harder it becomes to stop. The problem is that most people sabotage their own momentum. They start something, then stop. They get excited, then let fear pull them back. They make progress, then slow down because they feel like they've done enough. But winners operate differently. They don't stop when they make progress. They push even harder. They don't celebrate too early. They don't take their foot off the gas. They double down on what's working and keep executing at a relentless pace. Relentless action means taking full responsibility for your results. It means not blaming external factors when things don't go your way. It means not waiting for permission, approval, or ideal circumstances. It means deciding that no matter what happens, you will keep moving forward. Most people use obstacles as excuses to stop. They say, it wasn't meant to be, or I guess it just wasn't the right time. But winners use obstacles as fuel. They see them as challenges to overcome, not as reasons to quit. The truth is, every time you stop and hesitate, you make it harder to restart. The longer you wait to take action, the more you train your brain to be passive. And passivity is a slow death. It kills dreams, it kills ambition, it kills potential. Action, on the other hand, is life. It's movement. It's energy. It's power. The more you train yourself to take action quickly and decisively, the more powerful you become. You stop being controlled by fear, doubt, or circumstances, and you start controlling your own destiny. Most people get stuck in the planning phase. They spend months, even years, researching, preparing, and making sure everything is perfect before they take the first step. But real winners understand that imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. They know that planning is important, but execution is everything. They take the first step, even if they don't have it all figured out, because they understand that the best way to learn is by doing. They know that every mistake is just another lesson, another data point that brings them closer to success. Relentless action requires discipline. You won't always feel like doing what needs to be done, but winners don't wait until they feel like it. They don't rely on motivation because they know motivation is unreliable. Instead, they develop the discipline to take action whether they feel like it or not. They treat their goals like non-negotiables. They show up every single day no matter what. Whether they're tired, whether they're busy, whether they're uninspired, it doesn't matter. They take action. Anyway, action is what separates the successful from the dreamers. Dreamers talk, doers execute. Dreamers wish, doers make things happen. Dreamers make excuses, doers take responsibility. The world is filled with people who talk about what they're going to do, but talk is cheap. The only thing that matters is what you actually do. Your actions define you. Not your intentions, not your ideas, not your words, your actions. Most people are waiting for permission. They're waiting for someone to tell them it's okay to go after what they want. But winners don't wait. They don't need permission. They don't ask if it's okay. They decide that it's okay. They give themselves permission. They take control of their lives instead of waiting for someone else to do it for them. They understand that no one is coming to save them. No one is going to hand them success. No one is going to do the work for them. If they want it, they have to go and get it. Excuses are the killer of action. Every time you tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow, you reinforce the habit of procrastination. Every time you let fear stop you, you strengthen the fear. Every time you hesitate, you make hesitation a habit. But the opposite is also true. Every time you take action despite fear, you build courage. Every time you push forward despite discomfort, you build resilience. Every time you execute without hesitation, you train yourself to be relentless. People who take relentless action don't let setbacks define them. They don't let failure slow them down. When they hit a roadblock, they don't stop and complain. They find another way. They pivot, they adapt, they adjust, but they never stop moving. They understand that setbacks are temporary, but quitting makes failure permanent. They are willing to fail over and over again because they know that failure is just feedback. It's information that helps them get better. Action is what builds skill. You don't become great at something by thinking about it. You don't develop mastery by reading about it. You become great by doing, by putting in the reps, by showing up again and again, even when it's hard. Even when you're not seeing immediate results, even when it feels like nothing is working. Because they know that consistency compounds. They know that every small action adds up over time, and that greatness isn't built overnight. It's built through relentless execution, day after day, no matter what. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. The reality is no one gets through life without experiencing pain. Whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, the pain of failure, the pain of rejection, or the pain of discipline. But the difference between those who rise and those who crumble is how they respond to that pain. Most people run from pain. They avoid it at all costs, seeking comfort, ease, and security. But comfort is the enemy of growth. The greatest achievers, the most successful people in any field, embrace pain. They don't see it as something to be feared or avoided. They see it as the price of greatness. They understand that pain is the gateway to strength. The human body is designed to adapt under stress. Muscles grow when they are torn and rebuilt stronger. Calluses form to protect the skin when exposed to friction. The mind operates the same way. It only becomes stronger when it is challenged, pushed, and tested. But most people never push themselves far enough to experience this transformation. The moment they feel discomfort, they stop. They tell themselves it's too hard, that they're not meant for it, that it's not worth the struggle. But the people who win in life lean into the pain. They know that pain is the price they must pay for growth. Pain is a signal that something needs to change. It's the body's way of saying you're stepping outside your comfort zone. It's the mind's way of telling you you're in uncharted territory. But instead of seeing that as a warning to retreat, the winners interpret pain as progress. They know that if something is painful, it's pushing them toward their next level. If the workout burns, it means their muscles are growing. If the business is struggling, it means they're learning what doesn't work. If they feel the sting of rejection, it means they had the courage to take a risk. Most people quit at the first sign of pain. They try something new, and when it becomes difficult, they convince themselves it's not for them. They tell themselves they're not talented enough, not lucky enough, not strong enough. But the people who refuse to quit understand that pain is temporary. It doesn't last forever. It feels overwhelming in the moment, but it always fades. What remains is the strength gained from enduring it. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of struggle builds resilience. It builds a level of toughness that separates those who achieve from those who settle. Pain is not the enemy, weakness is. Weakness is what keeps people stuck. Weakness is what makes people settle for less than they're capable of. Weakness is what allows excuses to take over, convincing people that they should stay where they are because it's safer. But weakness can only survive in the absence of struggle. It thrives in comfort. It grows in the minds of those who refuse to push themselves beyond their limits. The only way to eliminate weakness is to go through pain, to embrace it, to see it as the tool that forges strength. There are two types of pain, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is temporary. It's the soreness after a workout, the exhaustion of long hours, the mental strain of pushing beyond your limits. It's tough in the moment, but it leads to progress. The pain of regret, however, lasts forever. It's looking back and knowing you could have done more. It's knowing you had the potential but didn't use it. It's knowing you let fear, laziness, or excuses hold you back. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. People who achieve greatness have mastered their relationship with pain. They don't see it as a punishment, they see it as a teacher. They understand that every difficult moment is shaping them into someone stronger, someone more resilient, someone more capable. They train themselves to seek out discomfort because they know that's where the real growth happens. They don't look for the easy way, they look for the right way, even if it's the harder path. Pain reveals character. When everything is going well, it's easy to be positive, confident, and strong. But when the struggle comes, when things don't go as planned, that's when your true character is exposed. Some people crumble under pain, they let it break them. Others rise. They use pain as fuel. They let it sharpen their focus, strengthen their resolve, and push them beyond what they thought was possible. The strongest people are not the ones who have never faced pain. They are the ones who have faced the most pain and refuse to let it define them. Pain is a filter. It separates the committed from the casual. The person who is just interested in success will quit as soon as it gets hard. The person who is obsessed with success will endure whatever it takes. This is why most people never reach their full potential. They are not willing to endure the pain required to get there. They want the rewards without the sacrifice, the success without the struggle, the results without the work. But life doesn't work that way. The greater the reward, the greater the price that must be paid. The winners in life don't just tolerate pain, they embrace it. They welcome it because they know it's the admission price for success. They condition themselves to find power in discomfort, to reframe struggle as opportunity. They don't complain when things get hard, they get excited because they know it means they are growing. They don't look for ways to escape pain, they look for ways to use it. Pain forces adaptation, makes you stronger, faster, smarter. It forces you to think differently, to improve, to evolve. The people who resist pain never grow. They stay the same year after year, stuck in the same cycles, making the same excuses. But the ones who welcome pain as a necessary part of the process become unstoppable. They understand that every painful experience is shaping them into someone who cannot be broken, someone who can handle anything life throws at them. Most people spend their lives running from pain, avoiding discomfort, seeking the easiest path. But the easy path leads nowhere. It leads to stagnation, mediocrity, and regret. The people who achieve greatness choose the hard path. They run toward the struggle. They embrace the sacrifice. They outwork, outlast, and outfight everyone else because they know that pain is their greatest ally. Pain is a privilege. It means you are alive. It means you are pushing yourself beyond your limits. It means you are growing. Every great transformation, every major breakthrough, every incredible achievement was born from pain. The people who refuse to go through it will never know what they are truly capable of. They will live safe, comfortable, small lives, never tapping into their full potential. But those who embrace pain, who use it as fuel, who refuse to let it stop them, they are the ones who win. Belief is the foundation of all achievement. Everything you have or don't have in life is a direct reflection of what you believe is possible for you. Your beliefs shape your actions, and your actions shape your results. Most people limit themselves not because they lack potential, intelligence, or ability, but because they don't believe they can have more. They accept a story about who they are, what they're capable of, and what their limits are, and that story becomes their reality. But the people who win, who rise above mediocrity and accomplish extraordinary things, believe in themselves on a level most people can't even comprehend. They don't see limitations, they see opportunities. They don't dwell on what's impossible, they focus on what's next. Belief is a decision. It's not something you're born with or something that magically appears when circumstances align. It's something you choose every single day. The world is constantly throwing doubt at you. People will tell you why you can't succeed, why your goals are unrealistic, why you should settle for something smaller. If you listen to them, if you accept their doubts as truth, you'll be trapped in the same cycle as everyone else. Living below your potential, settling for less than you deserve, stuck in the prison of limiting beliefs. But the people who rise, who break through, reject that conditioning. They refuse to let other people's fears shape their own reality. They decide that no matter what, they will believe in themselves even when there's no evidence yet to support it. Most people think they need to see results before they can believe, but that's backwards. Belief comes first. Results come because of belief. Every great achievement in history started with someone who believed in something before anyone else did. They saw the vision in their mind before it became reality. They acted as if it was already true, and through their belief, they turned the invisible into the inevitable. When you believe in yourself with absolute certainty, you take different actions. You show up differently. You approach challenges differently. You persist when others give up because you know, without a doubt, that success is not a matter of if, but when. Doubt is the killer of dreams. It's not failure that stops people, it's the fear of failure. It's the hesitation, the uncertainty, the voice in their head that whispers, what if you're not good enough? What if you fail? What if you embarrass yourself? That voice is the enemy. That voice is what keeps people stuck in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and lives that feel empty. But the people who break free, who accomplish extraordinary things, silence that voice. They refuse to entertain doubts. They don't allow negative thoughts to take root in their minds. They don't wait until they feel ready or until the fear goes away. They move forward in spite of the fear because they know that fear is nothing more than a conditioned response, a mental illusion designed to keep them safe, not successful. Belief is not passive, it's active. It's not just thinking positive thoughts and hoping things work out. It's a force that drives action. When you truly believe something is possible, you don't sit around waiting for it to happen. You make it happen. You take massive, relentless action. You don't accept excuses. You don't accept limitations. You find a way. When obstacles show up, and they always do, you don't back down. You don't see them as roadblocks. You see them as puzzles to solve, as challenges that are making you stronger. The people who win in life condition their belief daily. Just like a muscle, belief must be trained and strengthened. If you don't actively work on building your belief, the world will erode it. Negative people, past failures, limiting experiences, they all work against your belief, chipping away at it until you start doubting yourself again. This is why the strongest, most successful people protect their minds ruthlessly. They control what they allow into their mental space. They surround themselves with people who lift them up, who reinforce their belief, who push them to think bigger. They feed their minds with powerful ideas, with books, with mentors, with anything that fuels their confidence and certainty. They don't waste time on negativity. They don't entertain conversations that weaken them. Most people fail before they even start because they allow their past to dictate their future. They look at their failures, their mistakes, their shortcomings, and they use them as proof that they're not capable. But the past has no power over you unless you give it power. The past is done. It only exists in your mind. The only thing that matters is what you decide to believe right now. The strongest people in the world have all failed. The most successful people have all experienced massive setbacks. But what makes them different is that they don't allow those experiences to define them. They reframe them. They use them as fuel. They extract lessons from every failure and use them to get better, stronger, and smarter. Belief is contagious. When you truly believe in yourself, others start to believe in you too. Confidence is magnetic. It draws people in, it opens doors, it creates opportunities. But most people wait for external validation before they allow themselves to feel confident. They wait for someone to recognize their talent, to give them permission, to tell them they're good enough. That's weakness. True confidence, true belief comes from within. It's an unshakable certainty that no matter what happens, you will find a way to win. The greatest leaders, the greatest entrepreneurs, the greatest athletes all have one thing in common. They bet on themselves. When no one else believed, when the odds were against them, when failure seemed inevitable, they doubled down. They decided they were going to win long before there was any proof. And because of that belief, they took actions that others wouldn't take. They pushed through barriers that would have stopped most people. They refused to quit no matter how hard it got, because they had already decided that success was inevitable. You don't need permission to believe in yourself. You don't need evidence. You don't need approval. You simply need to decide. Decide that you are capable. Decide that you are worthy. Decide that no matter what happens, you will keep going, keep learning, keep improving. When you make that decision, when you truly commit, everything changes. You start moving differently. You start thinking differently. You start winning